Hello everyone. In today's video I'm going to tie this fly, but what I thought is to be interactive video, more or less. I would like to hear your comments down below about what I'm going to talk in this video. So this video is going to be not about this fly, it's going to be about things I wish I knew when I started fly tying. Things that actually helped me improve my fly tying, and if I knew them before, I would have probably improved myself much faster. So I'm trying to help maybe someone to improve fly tying. If I'm helping, my mission is accomplished. So if you want, you can help me by adding comments down below. What was something that you wish you knew when you started your fly tying? So without any further ado, I'll just go into those 7 points that I'm going to use. They're not set in any particular order, it's just how I remember them, but I'm going to use all of them throughout the fly, and I'm going to comment when I'm using them and why I'm using those. So first is going to be reverse jam hitch versus jam hitch. It's how to start a fly. Then how to catch materials. Soft wrap, hard wrap, pinch and loop. That's something I've learned from Oliver Edwards' videos. And then thread control. Thread control is something that all of you need. All of us, we all need it. It's something that helps a lot. It's just immensely important, and it's immensely overlooked. After thread control, I'm going to talk about securing materials. So 3 adjacent wraps, as opposed to 5 wraps on one on the top of another. Then pull up to pull down. That's technique that I've learned from Wayne Llewellyn. Amazing technique to secure materials and to prevent them from rotating around the hook. Before everything, you should plan your fly. So how long you want your tail, body, thorax, head, and so on. That's very important. And you can use lighter colored thread. And when you make thread foundation, you can mark the spots where you want to end everything, so you don't go past it. And it's interlapping with everything else, but excessive number of wraps is something that people usually do, and that's one of the points that I wish I knew before. Like, I would make much more slender flies earlier in my career, let's say like that. So without any further ado, let's just hop into tying. People usually start a fly at thorax area, but you can start it over here as well. It also matters where are you going to mount those materials, because if you don't mount them properly, you can create excessive bulk, which is not very desirable. Then how do you pinch materials? How do you grab them? How do you catch them on the hook? That's also important. So I'm going to talk about 3 ways: soft wrap, hard wrap, and pinch wrap, or pinch and loop. And then thread control is going to be all over the fly from the beginning until the end. That's super important stuff. Securing materials, well, how many wraps you're using, that's another one. Then pull up to pull down, very interesting stuff. And using adequate number of wraps. And the first one would be to plan your fly. First things first, you can start your fly like so, and then when you go till the end, if you want to catch your materials over here to create a little bit of bulk and taper from here towards the tail, you have to go here and then come back and then again there. That's 1 extra layers that you don't need. So push the thread against the hook, and then from below go with the tag end and around the hook, and then with a flat thread proceed forward. Now after 3-4 wraps, unless you're using GSP, then you need more wraps, just catch this tag end and secure it. This is called reverse jam hitch. It's basically the same as jam hitch you're using when you're regularly starting a fly. Now, counter twisting the bobbin holder will flatten the thread and decrease the amount of bulk, which means you're using a little bit of thread control. Now you can see that I'm going back and forth with this. So usually 2/3 is abdomen, 1/3 is thorax and head. So I can even go back up a little bit more. So I want to end body somewhere around here. So I'm going to use tail from mallard barbs, and like so. You can use those bars like so. If I want it like one hook shank length or one hook length, I will just remember this one here and transfer it. So I have one hook length in tails. Now let me just show you one little neat trick, and it's all about thread control. If you spin your bobbin holder clockwise, the thread will jump away from your materials. Like if you release the tension here, it's just running away from you. It's very useful to counter spin the bobbin holder, and then the thread will be in your hands like so. And this is also soft wrap, because I'm not using tension when I'm going around materials. I'm using thread control, and then that's it, it's caught. Now one more thing to consider is pull up, pull up. Now can you imagine what's happening here? When you make one revolution of thread with bobbin holder, and then you pull up the place where my bobbin needle is, you pull it actually down. So I'm pulling the bobbin holder up, but this thread over here that I'm holding with my needle is actually going down. And because it's around the hook shank, it's actually squeezing material from all sides. So instead of pushing away materials with your thread, like you can see it here, I want soft wrap and pull up, soft and pull up, soft, pull up, soft wrap, pull up. And you got yourself a little bit of thread control, pull up to pull down. Very neat trick that I learned from Wayne Allen. Now I'm backing off because I don't want to do it right now like this. I want to catch my next material, which is wire, and I'm catching wire on the far side. Now I don't want to release the tension, simply because wire is relatively rigid, so you can allow yourself a little bit of tension here. So soft wrap is good for soft materials, hard wrap is good for hard materials, stiff materials, and then pinch and loop is good more or less for everything. Now I messed up, I should have put wire first and then the tail, but never mind. Now next material is going to be owl. For those of you who are not allowed to possess owl, find something else, that's perfectly fine. I love owl because of fluffiness. So I'm gonna counter spin the bobbin holder again, and I'm gonna catch my material on the near side. Okay, well, I didn't catch it perfectly, but it's okay. I'm gonna go and cover all material. Okay. Now what I'm doing, so I'm going notice the placement of wire and the material for the body. So because I'm wrapping in a counter way the owl, it's going under the body first. It's not touching the tails. As you can see, tails are over here, so it's going away from the tails. Okay, I'm just placing it nicely in touching wraps. Oops, one barb less. In touching wraps, I'm just mounting owl where I want it, and as you can see, those barbisoles are all over. It's so fluffy. It's superb material. But if don't kill owls, those animals are useful. I get mine from farmed owls, and or the best way is to find those feathers that are fallen off the bird. So okay, I'm still holding tension here. 1, 2, and then I'll just continue with 1, 2 in front. Cut it here. And now the next one is wire, and the wire, well, we just remove this one barb. Okay, and the wire is placed away again. It's going from the other direction, but it's going directly on the body, so I'm not displacing the tails. I mean, you can do it whatever you like, but by planning your fly like such, you can actually avoid catching tails with your materials. So I can back up. This is called preserving of wraps, because I want to have as little bulk as possible. And as you can see, I'm placing the wire on the side of the shank here. Now I can add a little dubbing as thorax over here, because so far everything is done well. So I can add a little bit of dubbing, maybe some sparkle dubbing, like peacock, just to add a little bit of shine over here. Now one thing to consider is, do you need too much bulk over here or not? If you want your wing to lay more flat against the body, then don't create too much of a thorax. Now when it comes to wing, for the wing I'm going to use J wing, and I'm not going to use those slips, wing slips. Let me show you. I'm not very comfortable with making those, so by putting this in a video and trying to teach you something that I don't know myself, I don't think it's fair. So I'm just going to do something that I've been doing all my life. I'm going to use just those barbs from J-wing, and roughly you want to use double the amount, so 1 and maybe 2 widths of a hook shank, a hook gap, sorry. So you need those tips aligned, and then just pull out. And what I want to do is I want to fold this in half like so, and I got myself a wing over here. So I'm going to place the wing. These barbs are running away from me a little bit, so I'm just gonna align them nicely. Place the wing as measure the length you want. I like it more or less almost the same length as the hook band here, a little bit more. And then counterspin the thread, put your thread between your fingers and pinch it with the fingers, go around and under, and this thread under should be over the thread, the previous wrap, so in the same spot, and then just pull up and squeeze down. And then you do one more wrap, pinch it with your fingers, use force so your fingers get white, and then again soft pull up. So I did 3 wraps, but not in one spot. I actually went one next to another, because let me just cut the materials first. I will show you here. When you go with your thread one on the top of another, on another, and another, you're not actually helping your fly, you're not reinforcing your fly. Imagine that, I saw this from Wayne Allen again. When you're grabbing someone's hand, for example, you're grabbing it with fingers next to another and the grip is strong because all of your fingers, they have some surface tension and they grip what's under them. If you try to catch again with 4 or 5 fingers, but you place fingers on the top of one another, the grip is not as strong. Same happens with thread over here. So what you need, now I want to flatten the thread. Okay, let me flatten the thread a little bit first. Flat thread can catch more materials. As you can see, I'm covering more materials with flat thread. Okay, now again, I need flat thread for the next step. As you can see, I didn't use too many wraps to cover materials. I used thread width to cover up those buttons instead of having twisted thread and using too many wraps, building bulk, and so many things can go wrong in this case. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add CDC feather that I already placed in the clip. Some may ask why I'm using CDC feather that's supposed to be for dry fly mostly on a wet fly. Well, I have heavy wire hook and I'll have just sparse CDC feather. I have it for movement over here because I think it moves better than any other material we have. I'm gonna split the thread and then with short barbs closer to the hook, I'm going to place CDC into the split thread. Let me show you. So, as you can see, those buttons are not very shallow. I actually extended them a little bit. So when I start wrapping, they can make a V around the thread, V shape around the thread, and it will be more secured. Now, you can actually twist this with fingers now, and then twist your bobbin holder and go like this until you make this stubbing rope. Okay. Now you can go one thread behind, or depending on the amount of materials that you have. But what I like to do is, after each wrap, just pull this back, pull this back, pull this back, and I'm left with enough room for the head. Now let me see which way the bobbin holder is going to rotate. Yeah, again. Now, always flatten the thread before doing the whip finish knot. And we are going to do it 2 ways. 1 wrap, 2 wraps, and then 1, 2, 3 in the opposite direction. If your thread is not twisted, this loop over here is not going to catch in itself, and the knot is going to be stronger. Tighten everything towards the tail, and you got yourself a nice, neat little head. Now let's cut this without having a stub sticking away with a flat, so not serrated side. I'm just gonna touch very close, and that's it, under tension. And we got ourselves a nice fly that will move in the water and be very attractive to fish. Now guys, let's go recap all of those points. So to start a fly, you can do it with a jam hitch or reverse jam hitch if you like, depending on what you want to achieve. The second one is how to catch materials, whether it's going to be a soft wrap for soft materials, hard wrap for stiff materials, maybe some rakies of the feather for quill Gordon maybe, or pinch and loop like I did for the wings. Then thread control goes all the way through the fly. It's about the jump of the thread, it's about twisting the thread, it's thread control. It's very useful, and it prevents bulk, and it prevents material, well, thread, from running away from your materials, for example. Securing materials goes with adjacent wraps, yes, instead of wraps that go one on the top of another because of the strength. That's it. Pull up to pull down was, as I was mounting wings, I made a loop and then I pull upwards, so the previous wrap will actually cinch down the material and prevent rotating around the hook. Planning the fly prior to tying, like thinking about proportions of the fly. I'm not talking that you should follow any proportions. I mean, this fly is not proportionate. I mean, legs are too long, tail is on the long side, and so on. I mean, I use CDC, I didn't use some hackle, proper hackle for the wet fly, so I'm not like following rules strictly. But as long as you're achieving what you want, your proportions are good. As long as your fly is doing what you want the fly to do, your proportions are good. So don't follow rules blindly, but those rules are pretty good to follow if you're starting to learn fly tying. And using adequate number of wraps, that was like 7th point that I wanted to talk. It goes with securing materials. I said three turns is enough to secure material, because like you're going to use some more reps after those 3. So for example, I'm going to use to catch this, to tie off this body material with 1 or 2 reps, or maybe 5 reps. But when I want to finish with wire, I can remove a couple of reps, because wire will hold everything together. So I conserve reps, and I don't use excessive amount of reps to make fly stronger. It's not going to be stronger, it's actually going to be weaker. So that would be it. These points are not all of them. I will probably remember some more and then make another video on that. I hope this video was helpful for some of you. If it did, please give it a like, subscribe, and see you next time.